Our narrative begins with a man lying in bed. Another man enters his room to sit on a chair, facing the one lying down. He becomes scared due to this stranger. The man who entered, whoever he is, has a bag that starts moving by itself. Then the stranger comes to sit beside the scared man, whose fear is quickly rising. Making the situation more frightening, someone peeks out from the bag that moves. The man in bed asks to be helped before the stranger brings his hands toward him. We do not see what happens. After that, the stranger leaves the house. As he walks, we hear him narrating that he is the wanderer who is always searching. Perhaps talking to the person he visited. He says the man is in him, and he is in the man. He adds that they will meet again. The wanderer wants us to believe he is a force to be reckoned with, because he says he cannot be tricked. We observe that the man he visited lies lifeless in his bed. It looks like the life has been drained out of him. The scene changes to show a car riding along a road. A young girl is the first member of the family we see. She is Mary, sitting in the back seat, holding a wooden box. The mountains look scary to her. Mary's uncle, William, tells her it is believed that the mountains are the back of a snake. That prompts the aunt to tell William not to scare her. But Mary says she's not scared. She also says some African cultures believe snakes are good luck. They carry souls to the afterlife. While the family rides, we see this as taking place in South Africa in the year 1977. Shortly after, the family stands outside their car for Mary to place flowers near two graves. Afterward, we see the wanderer walking. When the family is gone, he comes to the flowers Mary put down to take a small one for himself. We wonder what the meaning of that is. At night, the family arrives at a house. William advises his wife and niece to stay while he goes inside to look for a light. Entering the house, he lights some candles. That's not enough, though, so he walks with a lantern to the power panel. Mary then enters the house with her aunt, Sarah. The girl starts ascending a staircase with the candles William lit. They are all searching in separate areas of the house. Soon we observe someone else in the dark, and Mary screams for some reason. It causes her guardians to rush over to her. She tells them her candles went out. It seems like she didn't see the person we saw. After that, we see an elderly man outside somewhere. One of his eyes looks blind. Who he is will become revealed in time. Now, we must focus on the family sitting beside a lit fireplace. Mary tells her uncle she loves it there. We learn that William occupied this house at a young age. He starts telling Mary about a boy named Sia that used to live there. His father was the local witch doctor. Mary gives it the proper name by calling it a Sangoma. She says Sangomas can talk to their ancestors. Her aunt says it's just a superstition, yet Mary denies it. In the morning, William wants to get the generator started so they don't spend another night without power. Mary wants to help, but he thinks it's better for her not to. Later, Sarah comes up to a room where she finds her niece sitting. The girl says the room belonged to her mother. She wants to sleep there tonight. Meanwhile, William struggles with the generator outside. Then Mary sits outside too, hearing some noises that make her look around. However, she sees nothing. We are the ones who get to see someone running out there. Mary goes out to explore. Entering the woods, she encounters the wanderer, sitting with his back toward her. His first words to the girl are that it's not nice to sneak up on people. That prompts her to hide behind a tree, though this man cannot be hidden from. She finds that he's standing near her. He thinks she might be lost. Afterward, he picks up her wooden box. The wanderer puts something in there, telling Mary he gave whatever is in the box something to eat. Mary behaves respectfully to him, thanking the man along with addressing him politely. She sees a lifeless monkey there, with many insects crawling on it. Although the monkey is a corpse, the man tells her the insects are very much alive. At that moment, he educates the young girl about the nature of life and the lack of it. They are intertwined, he says. The insects are feasting on the remains of the monkey to sustain their existence. With that said, he introduces himself as Lazarus. He is pleased to meet Mary, yet he wonders what she is doing alone in the woods. She was looking for food for her caterpillars, the creatures residing in her box. She shows Lazarus her pets and even tells him their names. 2 of them are named after her guardians. Lazarus is delighted that she shared this with him. He says they will turn into moths soon, causing her to say they will never leave her because they are friends for life. Following this friendly exchange, Mary asks for Lazarus's help to return home, for she is indeed lost. The next scene has Sarah seeing the 2 of them together near the house, which brings her worry. Mary tries introducing the kind man to her aunt, but it doesn't alleviate Sarah's concern. Lazarus comes to her guardian, behaving respectfully to soften the alarm his sudden presence may have brought. He says he used to work for William's father. He also says that if they want any help, he could offer it. Mary then brings him some bread, and Lazarus apologizes again for the inconvenience. He waves to Mary before he leaves. Sarah gives the girl a somewhat opposite reaction by criticizing her for being with a stranger. William thinks Sarah is a little hard on Mary. At night, we see the family still without power as they eat dinner with candles on the table. Yet suddenly, the lights turn on, making William remark on the strangeness of it. The situation prompts him to go outside to check on the generator, while holding a stick for safety. We see it is working now, with Lazarus beside the machine. The man has helped them by fixing it. He informs William of what he did to get it going. Of course, William is forced to thank him. As Lazarus is leaving, he stops him by asking if he truly worked for his dad. Subsequently, William is back in the house, telling Sarah he let Lazarus stay in the shed due to his help. However, she does not share his opinion about offering the man their property. There is something about him she doesn't trust. When she's putting Mary to bed, she says she's sorry about criticizing the girl earlier. She just panicked upon seeing her with someone unknown. In response, Mary hugs Sarah, saying she will protect her. We wonder what she means by that. During everyone's sleeping hour, Sarah wakes up from a knock on the door. She gets up to walk to where the sound is coming from. She is somewhat scared, coming to a door that opens by itself. It scares her even more, and she starts backing away. A few seconds later, a hand grabs her from behind, causing her to awaken from the nightmare. Then we see that elderly man outside again talking to some people. A younger man says Lazarus is a demon who eats the souls of loved ones. To that, the man who is blind in one eye says Lazarus is a man driven by pain and suffering. At that moment, we get a flashback of Lazarus watching a house burn down when he was considerably younger. It brings him great suffering to witness it. The happening makes him take a stick to strike a man in the face with it. As the struck man holds his wounded eye, we realize he is the blinded elderly man. Soon, Lazarus hears a voice calling his name from the sky. It confuses him that he's not able to see where it's coming from. Afterward, he holds his lifeless daughter in his arms while crying. The smoke from the house fire starts going back, as if in reverse. With this occurrence, his daughter comes back to life, possessing white eyes. Out of the flashback, the elderly man says Lazarus was a man who loved his daughter. At a different time, Lazarus comes to Mary, who tells him one of her caterpillars passed away last night. Lazarus gives her his condolences regarding that matter. She doubts whether she should bury it or not. This makes her friend say the bug still has a soul, just like Mary. At this point, we learn both of her parents passed away. Lazarus tells her that something always continues on. That something is the soul. His wisdom prompts Mary to change her mind about burying the caterpillar. She now agrees to do it, so Lazarus creates a small grave for her pet. Together they cover it with soil. After Mary adds a small flower to it, she says she sometimes misses her parents. The caring man follows this burial by bringing Mary near the shed to show her a jar with 2 moths inside it. This sight amazes the young girl, for she loves such insects. Yet he doesn't just show it to her, he gifts her the jar. The two of them have become even better friends. After that, as Sarah is hanging clothes to dry, she spots from a distance one of the guys who was with the elderly man. He is looking at her. She calls William to tell him about it, who in turn asks Lazarus about the identity of the man. Lazarus tells them there is a settlement close by, where he could be from. Since William doesn't like people coming in to spy on them, his wife advises that he goes to the village to introduce himself. The man continues to look at them with a strange expression. The next scene has William and Lazarus arriving at the village by car. William comes out to start talking to the people there. The elderly man is there to give William his name, which is Obara. Once William asks about 2 people he used to play with as a kid, the man who was watching them comes to say they are no longer alive. Seeing it's the man, William is puzzled how he got to the village this quickly. His question goes unanswered. Obara just informs the visitor that he is their scout, Suno. From the group of people gathered there, some woman voices her opinion that William asks too many questions, in addition to his presence not being welcome. That is when Obara warns him that he should go back to his car. Even Lazarus joins in to advise them of this. The man adds that he will deal with them. Alone with the crowd, Lazarus receives anger from Suno, with the latter calling him a demon. He demands that Lazarus leaves. The man retaliates by cautioning Suno to sleep with his eyes open. Suno isn't the only one who wants him out. Obara wants it too. As they ride back, William shows concern over those villagers being upset. He wonders what he did. Lazarus does not know, but he says they kept mentioning William's father. He also recommends that William does not get too close to them, or he will be taken advantage of. At home, Sarah asks her husband why they can't have their own child. He prefers not to think about it. She likens herself to a lifeless tree, with no purpose. Yet William disapproves of this ugly analogy. She wonders why God did this to her. The man tells her she has a lovely girl, only to have her reply that Mary isn't hers. Later, we see a plate of severed chicken foot sitting in the dark shed. A grotesque hand reaches for the plate from a shadow to take it away. Lazarus is also there, hearing a voice tell him it is hungry. He responds to the voice, saying it isn't time. In the shadow, we see the being that took the chicken food start eating them. However, this isn't the kind of food it truly wants, so it throws the plate at the wall in anger. It tells Lazarus that he doesn't love it, prompting him to say he will go to certain people to bring back food. From that conversation, we can infer that Lazarus was talking to his daughter, who is no longer human. On the next day, Lazarus tells William where he is from. He also says his wife and daughter have passed away. He then starts talking about a place called Hemel Opus Ard. As he draws the number 8 in the dirt, he says his culture thinks that is the place they can talk to their ancestors. Lazarus was a healer in his village, someone who can communicate with the unknown. He adds that he has a rare gift, though after the demise of his daughter, that gift became a burden. Following this, Mary delivers something she drew under the door of the shed for Lazarus. Eventually, the man enters to see it. When he's exiting it, Sarah watches him from the house with a distrustful face. We see him walking with his heavy bag in the woods until he enters the village. There, he walks into a house, where he approaches a woman in bed. She is terrified to see him, as he starts entering a trance to perform his magic on her, much like how he did to the man in the beginning. His eyes turn white, and the woman seems powerless to stop him. Soon her mouth opens, for a moth to come out of it. Lazarus clasps the insect in his hands, to deliver it to his grotesque daughter, who came out of the bag. She consumes it, Returning to his normal state, he looks exhausted from his ritual. It must take a lot out of him. Afterward, his daughter haunts him with words he likely does not want to hear. She tells him he left her in the house. Why did her father forget about her, she asks. But Lazarus says she isn't his daughter. She comes to him, saying she can give him what he wants. At that moment, we finally get to see what Mary drew for him. He sits there looking at her artwork, which has the 4 of them there. In William's house, Sarah lies in the bathtub with a towel over her face. She isn't safe due to Lazarus's daughter being there. She pulls at the towel in an attempt to suffocate Sarah. Many seconds pass until her husband enters, in time to make the menacing force vanish. Telling him that someone tried to take her life, she can't get William to believe her. All he can do is comfort her that she's okay. Switching to Mary lying in bed, she sees her door slowly closing. Asking who is there doesn't give her an answer. During breakfast, William and Mary express their desire to keep living in the house while improving everything there. Sarah, of course, does not like the idea. She sits there not looking like herself due to what occurred yesterday. In the next scene, a funeral takes place for the woman Lazarus ended. Suno talks to Obara about destroying Lazarus's bag. The elderly man tells him they have to wait for the right moment. This causes Suno to become angry, because the woman who lost her life happens to be his mom. He comes to the grave to mourn for her, saying he will avenge her demise. Changing the scene to Mary's room, the girl hears someone calling to her. She moves her mirror to the side to see someone who looks like it could be Lazarus's daughter, in normal form for a brief moment. Once Mary turns around, she isn't there. The place she sees her a second time is atop the staircase. Not even scared, Mary asks a total stranger in her house if she would like to see her caterpillars. That's the unconcerned attitude only youth can bring. Slightly later, Sarah comes to her niece's room to see the girl talking to someone who doesn't seem to be there. She asks who Mary is talking to, but the scene cuts before we hear her answer. Then we observe Suno entering the shed to find Lazarus's special bag there. He approaches it cautiously, until he starts being rough with it. This makes the girl scream inside. When Suno takes the bag away, Lazarus knows about it, even though he doesn't see it. Suno has to collect himself somewhere in the woods. He leaves the bag on the ground unsupervised, which wasn't the smartest move. Doing that allows the girl to exit the bag. He sees it empty prior to seeing her. The man has his knife out to try to deal with her, yet he does not get to use it because Lazarus jumps on him. It doesn't take long for him to use Suno's knife to end him. However, he is not without emotions concerning what he just did. He buries Suno after crying for him. At that time, Obara is there to sneak up on Lazarus, to strike him down with a weapon. He receives a surprise once he discovers Lazarus is not even unconscious. He reveals his necklace to Obara, making the latter refer to him as a demon. But Lazarus rejects such a vile categorization before walking away with his bag. He doesn't even harm the man with one blind eye. Back at the shed, he talks to his daughter. He wants her to know he cannot do this anymore. Meanwhile, Sarah stands outside near the window to listen. She peeks inside to see that Lazarus isn't alone and runs off yelling out to William in fear. Coming to him, she informs him of what she now knows. Again, William cannot believe her, adding that Lazarus's help is needed. Mary comes out to defend her friend too. When Lazarus sees William coming to the shed, he purposefully cuts his prior to opening the door. William greets him with the upsetting news that he has to let Lazarus go. He even offers him some money. He then notices the cut on Lazarus's hand, which helps Lazarus earn the man's sympathy. William allows him to stay one more night at Lazarus's request. He also thanks him personally for his help around the property. Due to his wife's concern, though, William asks to see what's inside his bag. As he is about to inspect it, a loud noise takes his attention away. That is the fuel for the generator being finished, Lazarus says. After that, William rushes to Sarah to explain the situation to her. Lazarus leaving tomorrow is not good enough for her. Once he leaves to collect diesel fuel for the generator, Sarah decides to take matters into her own hands. She goes to the shed, where she gets scared upon seeing Lazarus's grotesque daughter. Trying to escape, she gets grabbed by the man. Following this, he comes to the house to take Mary with him somewhere. He wants her to take her caterpillars with her. Subsequently, William comes back home. He calls out to everyone, but is met with an unpleasant silence. He quickly becomes anxious, searching the house for his family. Soon enough, he comes to the shed with a rifle, because the villagers are performing a ritual there. He yells out to them. Obara tells him that Lazarus has taken Mary. This makes William rush into the shed to find his wife restrained to a chair there. After freeing her, he hears from Obara that his family encountered a demon. He adds that Mary is in danger. This leaves the man with no choice except to go find her. At night, Lazarus sits with the girl beside a fire outside. Whether he kidnapped her or not is uncertain due to her looking peaceful with him. He mentions his daughter, and Mary asks where she is. So he tells her the truth. Mary says he needs a daughter, while she needs a parent. She makes them perform something like a pinky promise, where she says certain statements she wants him to repeat. He has to promise to take care of her, plus never to hurt her. Yet Lazarus says it's a big promise that he's afraid of not being able to keep. Regardless of that, he repeats the words anyway. Mary finishes the pinky promise by saying they will always be together. Soon, he gives her something to drink. Back at the shed, the villagers keep on with their ritual. Obara even lights a fire. The drink Lazarus gave to Mary puts the girl to sleep. For some reason, he tells her that her work there is done. Then his daughter starts coming out of the bag, and he asks to be forgiven. At that moment, he starts performing his ritual on Mary. Back at the larger ritual, we see a giant number 8 comprised of fire surrounding the shed. Lazarus also draws an 8 on Mary's forehead. A moth emerges from the poor girl's mouth, which he grabs. But the villagers keep performing their ritual with fervor in their attempt to destroy Lazarus. Eventually, William comes to Lazarus, yelling at the man because of what he did. Obara finally lights the shed on fire, causing Lazarus to start burning too. In the meantime, William hugs his niece, urging her to wake up. She does that, though not with him. We see her at a different place, with Lazarus there too. She asks him with concern where they are. The place is utterly silent, along with having a pink sky. Lazarus informs her they are in a world between worlds. At this point, we learn they have passed away. It is especially unfortunate that Mary resides in this realm. Lazarus broke his promise to her. He points to 2 people in the distance, people she recognizes as her parents. Her father waves to her before they both vanish. Since she feels sorrow, Lazarus tries to calm her. He wants her to shut her eyes. Doing so makes her walk as a ghost in her old house. She sees herself sitting beside her parents at the table. It is a day she remembers. Back in the unknown zone, Lazarus tells her she has to make a decision. Showing her a jar with a moth, he says the moth is her soul. She has the option to go with her parents or to return to the real world. Prior to doing that, she asks him why he did this to her. After apologizing, he says it was the only way for him to save his daughter. The man almost cries, saying he's sorry for breaking their promise. He also says she gave him a wonderful gift. This prompts Mary to take his hand again, in the same pinky promise fashion. This time, she wants him to repeat that he will never forget her, and that one day they will meet again. Once he repeats the words of his second promise, Mary vanishes. Lazarus is now there alone. We wonder what will happen to him. Back in South Africa, Sarah tells William she is pregnant. She doesn't know how it happened. Then Obara comes to William outside to say he is sorry about Mary. The final moment has Sarah sitting in a rocking chair with Mary's box. One of her caterpillars has metamorphosed into a moth that sits on Sarah's finger. The lady narrates the same words that Lazarus narrated at the start of our narrative. She is the wanderer who cannot be tricked. After we learn Lazarus has passed on his condition to her, she places the moth inside her mouth.